Can you believe it's March already? Oh my gosh, I woke up this morning and I was like, where did February go? But again, today is Monday, March 1st, and it is comp week. So your comps are Wednesday and Thursday of this week, and we're gonna go into more of detail about that in a minute because today is our first day of review. It's mostly gonna be independent, and then um, I'm sorry, then tomorrow we'll go over the answers more in detail, but I kind of want to just show you how to go through the items that are going to be in your review for today. So this aim is students will be able to review Islam, Africa, and Asian empires for the trimester 2 comp. And today I'm going to go over an intro, just kind of going over details about the comp for you. About 4 to 6 minutes of guided practice where I'm going to kind of go through the rationale of what we're doing and how to do it. And then the remainder is going to be independent practice for you where you're going to be practicing actual questions from the comp. And we will go over the answers tomorrow. Today is National Peanut Butter Lovers Day. So if you are a peanut butter fan, I guess today is the day to enjoy some of that wonderful treat. All right, so here's some basic info for your comp. I move my face. For hybrid students, so students that are going to be in the building on Thursday, your exam is going to be from 9:15 to 10:55, and you'll be in the classroom with me. So it's going to be, more controlled, I suppose. Like you'll get stuff done with me. If you are at home on Thursday, which means you will not be in the building, your history exam is from 9 to 10:40. At those closing times, those exams will close promptly. So if you are at home at 10:40, you're done. So you must take the exam in the given window. So you can't decide on Thursday you're going to take the reading comp first and do history last. You have to take the history test during that window of time, or else it's not going to read it. And it's not even going to be open for you to access. So you have to make sure if you're at home, you are from 9 to 10:40 on your computer taking your history exam. The comp is 100 points. There's going to be around 50 questions. I'm still kind of going through it and editing it just a tad, tweaking it because I'm still kind of going back and forth on a couple things. But all the Try 2 topics will be Islam, Africa, China, and Japan. And that Africa includes East and West. You want to review all your old materials, look at old quizzes on Edulastic. Today and tomorrow are key. So today is going to be primarily independent once I get you started. And then, again, like I said, we'll go over the answers tomorrow and go in more detail, kind of get more of an explanation. What I also suggest you do tomorrow is if you want to take notes, do so. I know for reading class, you're always encouraged to take notes. I know my notes are in like Google Classroom and things like that. But I would really encourage you to take notes from today and tomorrow so that you can use them on your exam because you will not be able to access Google Classroom during the comp. You will only have access to Edulastic for your exam. So you want to make sure that if you want to take any notes, you have those. One thing that some students do if they have access to a printer is they just print out um, their lessons. And that way, and also we'll go back to Google Classroom and look at any feedback, any scores, things like that. So let's begin. So you have 5 multiple choice questions. We're starting with the topic of Islam or Arabia. And what I suggest you do here is really, you can go through your notes and find these things you have, whenever you want to do it to do it. Um, but really try your best. Don't just guess, because that way you will know what you really, really need to study and what you don't. So if you get number 1 right, okay, well, I don't need to worry about that question because clearly I know it. If you get it wrong, well, I need to make sure that I focus on that one more because I didn't get it, I didn't get it right. So I definitely know I need to study that particular question. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes and I'd like you to use all of your quiz skills. So process of elimination, kind of what makes sense, what's a logical answer. And then we'll pause the video and we'll come back and we will go over this together. All right. So, let me move my face again. My face is always in the way. So number one, which word or phrase best describes the Hijaz? So the Hijaz, if you remember, if you got it right, it's that mountain range that goes right down the east coast, or I'm sorry, the west coast of the Arabian Peninsula. And because it's a mountain range, that means it would be mountainous. It is able to support life. It's not a center for worship because it's a mountain range, and it's not a shrine because it's a mountain range. So clearly, if we're talking about a mountain range is going to be mountainous. What was the goal of the Hijra? The Hijra was the um, trip that Muhammad and Muslim followers are typically, if they can, required to complete at least one point in their life, and that is the journey to Mecca. But the early one where Muhammad goes to Medina and Mecca is to spread the word of Islam and get more followers involved. How do Bedouin nomads live? If you remember a nomad, even if you don't know the word Bedouin, you're like, what the heck does that mean? I have no idea. I don't remember that word. But you look for a keyword. Okay, it's asking me about a nomad. Well, nomad is a pretty familiar word. And what I do recall was when we were doing Islam and we were talking about nomads, everyone, well, 90% of you knew what a nomad was. And we know that nomads move from place to place. They don't stay in one spot. They're not sedentary. So obviously they raise crops in places where there's water would not be accurate. You can't really move from place to place and grow crops. It takes too much time. They travel on trade routes to buy and sell items. Now, this is one of those questions I call a distractor question, where it's not necessarily, it does make sense. It could work because we know that they're traveling, right? You see that word travel. Okay, nomads travel. So you get stuck. So that would be, a distractor question that could be right, but it's not the best answer. And so we know that nomads, the Bedouin ones, move from place to place with their animals, making the answer A. How did Muhammad change the Kaaba? The Kaaba was that big box. In a lot of the pictures we looked at, it was that big black box, and millions and thousands of people were walking around it in a circle. He changed it because he made it an Islamic holy site. Before, it was open to prayer to many gods. It was more of a polytheistic shrine, but he made it a Islamic holy site just for Islam. 5, how does an oasis benefit people in Arabia? It supplies water. Remember, oasis or oases are those little lakes or areas of water in the middle of the desert. And that's where, if you recall, we talked about two types of people. We talked about the nomads and the people that lived along the oases because they were sedentary. They had a source of water where they could raise crops and they could farm, or at least try to, because it was the desert. So I don't know about that. But there we go for that. So we're going to move on to one more together so you can kind of see how I'm kind of rationalizing how I'm picking my answers. I'm not just plugging anything in and guessing. So I'm going to give you another 5 minutes. So that's about 1 minute a question to answer these 5 multiple choice questions that also are included in Islam and Arabia. So go ahead and pause. All right. So which is Islam's most sacred text? It would be A, the Quran. That's like I don't like making this comparison, but it's like the equivalent of like the Bible in Christianity. It's the most sacred text. The Torah in Judaism. The Sunnah is something different, which I'm not going to say what it is because then we're going over it in a second. The Hadith and the Sharia are also two different things, but I'm not going to explain what it is because we're going to go over it in a second. What do Muslims do on a Hajj? They travel to the holy city of Mecca. Again, if you look at the options, these are all the 5, well, there's 4 of the 5 pillars, and if you look, you can say, okay, A, they fast for during the day for a month. That would be Ramadan, so that's not Hajj. They give wealth to the poor and needy. That's charity, so that's not a Hajj. They pray 5 times a day. That's prayer. That's not a Hajj. So really, our only answer left, if we weren't sure, is they travel to the holy city of Mecca. And one thing that I use to help me with this question, or I used to, is Hajj, holy, Hajj, holy, right? So I use that H to help me. Where do Muslims gather to worship? That would be C, a mosque. A minaret is a tower, and a muezzin is the person who makes the call to prayer in the tower. What does the Sharia describe? These are the rules of proper conduct by Muslims. We talked about how there are still countries today that are strict Muslim countries that follow Sharia law. It can be taken to an extreme at sometimes because it's taken literal. So it's not the importance of traveling to Mecca because that would be the Hajj. It's not the words and actions of Muhammad because that's the Quran. And the word of God revealed to Muhammad is also in the Quran and not the Sharia. So it's the rules for proper conduct. So the proper way to act and how to do things and live to the standards of Islam. And then whose reports do the Sunnas include? That would be A, people who knew Muhammad. We did not talk anything about Europeans when we talked about Islam, so that just automatically, you can rule that out. Men who call Muslims to prayer, that's a muezzin, so that is out. And then Muslim scholars of the 900s, that's impossible because this was written before that. So what you're going to do now is you have quite a few more slides that you're going to do the same thing, but I am not going to give you the answers. The teachers in your class, if you are hybrid, do have a key. So if you're stuck on something or if, they can check your work before you submit. If you are at home, go back to all your items and check them. I'm not giving you a key because I don't want you to just go to the key and plug in the answers. And that'll be a waste of my time tomorrow. But I am going to ask that teachers that have the key don't necessarily give it away, but just you can kind of check and just say, hey, check 1, check 3, check 5 on this slide. But thanks, and we will continue. We'll go over the answers tomorrow and then go over a couple more things tomorrow. So you have a wonderful day. Stay healthy, guys.